Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and with me, as per the norm, my very good friend and co-host of the best Xbox show on YouTube, the Welsh Gamer. Welcome, dude.
What's going on, Boom? Thanks for having me. Really excited for this one. I'll keep my intro short and sweet because we've got an absolutely fantastic guest with us, and I can't wait to let him speak his piece and introduce himself. But you know, Xbox Factor, we got a good one today, Boom. Let's do it.
Nice. Now, we are extremely privileged and, of course, honored to have Ryan Roth, who is the audio director at Blu Manchu Games, who has been awesome enough to join us and talk about the development of the new action strategy, fast-paced shooter, Void Bastards. First of all, Ryan, thank you so much for being here, man.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Well, listen, let's get right into the questions, because obviously you're here on limited time. We don't want to keep you more than an hour. Obviously, you're still working on Void Bastard. So I'm going to open up with the first question. Can you tell us a little bit about being the audio director and what it's like at Blu Manchu Games? What are your responsibilities, and how do you decide on the sounds when it comes to like the unique weapons for the game?
Okay. Well, so I feel like it's a little bit weird to say audio director. I mean, I guess I am the audio director, but there's really only five core members of our team, so it's
wow.
It's
okay.
I mean, I am working with several other people to help me, with some music and some voice acting, obviously. But anyway, for the weapon sounds, I mean, I don't know. Everything is so stylized in the game. It's very easy to. I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's a lot of creative freedom to be like, oh, this gun has these swirls on it and it's purple. I can make it sound like this. I can make it sound like anything, So.
Okay, what about just working as making the choices when it comes to the audio direction?
Choices for audio direction. Let's try to be a little bit more specific about like maybe the like the voice acting, or
yeah, you know what? Let's go into that, because the voice acting, obviously is very important. How did you choose who was going to be the voice actors for the game?
Well, what ended up happening was so Kevin Brighting is a huge part of the game. He's the main narrator. He was the narrator for the Stanley Parable.
Oh, okay.
And so I was I worked on this game called The Beginner's Guide with Davey Reedon, who wrote the Stanley Parable. And so basically I was just like, hey, we need this weird AI sounding, British, authoritative voice actor. And I was like, we could use Kevin from the Stanley Parable. And he got me in touch with him, and it worked out great. He read all the lines, and it was just fantastic. And that's what we ended up using for Bax, the main AI sort of entity that revives you in the game and brings you through this ridiculous journey that is Void Bastards.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be one heck of an adventure. Drew, why don't you follow up with the second question?
Yeah, absolutely. Blu Manchu Games had recently, its previous title being called Card Hunter, where it was described as a mix between Magic the Gathering and Dungeons of Dragons, something that I know Boom played religiously growing up. That was released in 2013 and was very well received. Were you and the team during the development of the company's first game? If not, when did you start at Blu Manchu Games?
So I actually had nothing to do with Card Hunter. I was not a part of Card Hunter at all.
Okay.
I wasn't with Blu Manchu at that point. I'd heard of the game. I'd seen it around, but it's just kind of a weird story how I ended up meeting John Che and working on Void Bastards. I met a friend of mine that he works on. His name is Matt, and he works on he did Prey, and he did the Metroid Prime series. I was in Austin, and he mentioned, hey, there's this studio that's doing this cool FPS. Maybe you should get in touch with them. He was in the middle of doing Prey at the time.
Nice.
And I said, all right, I'll check it out. And so I talked to John, and I did a few demos, and it really worked out. Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, that's really interesting. It's funny how someone just gives you a tip, you kind of throw your line in the pond, and then you just it just works out to work for them. That's very interesting. I got to be honest with you, Ryan. I before having you come on the show, I saw the interview that you did at this year's GDC with Game Informer, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about the development of Void Bastards. It turns out, though, this was a very different game than it is now. I believe the original title was called False Light, and was a much more serious sci-fi game. What made the team change the name to Void Bastards and shift gears to this very stylized comic book type graphics?
All right, so the graphics actually were, like, from the outset, we wanted to do this game. Ben, the art director, wanted to make this game with billboarded sprites, like Doom or whatever, but like more they had a lot more detail to them. There hasn't been a modern game that's come out with these billboarded sprites. So from the outset, we wanted this art direction. We wanted to go that way, but it was going to be a very serious immersive sim. We were like, yeah, it was called False Light. I think we actually, there was another name, Ghost Armada. I think our Dropbox is still named Ghost Armada, actually.
Cool.
So it's like, that's what we were originally going to call it. Yeah, it was going to be super serious, and so the actual direction from a serious game to a this comic book kind of ridiculous bureaucratic nightmare, I don't know if it came from the art style changing. I think we were gonna go that way regardless. I think it just happened that we got Cara Ellison, the writer, to come in, and she started making up all this ridiculous, like in 2080. It just became this. We can't be serious with this art style, So
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, the art direction is stunning to watch, especially when stuff pops up. It really is like a living comic. Drew, you want to take the next question, brother?
Yeah. No, in response to that, though, I can't say it enough. I genuinely really like the art style. It's got a very inviting look to it. I think it's phenomenal.
We can thank Ben for that. Ben, the art director, he's amazing. Art director.
Yeah.
Ben Lee. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Ben Lee, shout out to you, my dude. But the next question I got for you is the name Void Bastards. Because I don't know if everyone in the chat knows this, but Ryan, if you've ever popped your ear in to listen to a show, that word bastard is one of my favorite words. So I'm a big fan already. That name really stands out, and I really like it. So can you discuss how the team decided on Void Bastards? And also, Ryan, when talking about the game, do you get a laugh when saying Void Bastards, or has it become second nature by now?
I'll be honest, it's just, that's the name of the game. I mean, I don't even think about it anymore.
Nice.
But we have, like I mentioned before the show, I think we did have some issues, when we were talking to Microsoft initially, when we were like, hey, here's the name of our game. And they were like, wait, we need to check on to see if that's okay. And it ended up being totally fine. But I think Ben actually came up with the name. Ben, the art director, I think he just we were just shooting off random names, and it was just one of them. And we all agreed that that was an awesome name, and we kind of stuck with it.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. No, but
It's not really like a very interesting story. It just was one of we had all these names, and that was just the best one.
no,
you
that's
know?
fantastic, man. Like I said, it really does stand out, and I've already got people in the chat saying we need to take a shot every time Welsh says bastard. So yeah, I'll be slipping it in as often as I can. Thanks for the question on Void Bastards as a name. God, the chat's going to be drunk by the end of this show.
Yes, definitely. Listen, Ryan, the founder of Blu Manchu Games, Jonathan Che, who was one of the founders for Irrational Games with Ken Levine and Robert Firmer, produced, obviously, we know they produced industry-defining classics such as System Shock 2 and Bioshock, which Void Bastards takes a lot of cues from. How has it been working with Jonathan Che, and how big of a team is actually at Blu Manchu Games?
Well, like I said a little bit earlier, there's like, I would say 5 core members of the team.
Okay.
That are sort of full time. That we're all part of it. There's 2 people that are part time, and then we have obviously a battery of voice actors. Kevin Brighting. I use the Crow guys, William Pugh and Joe Feingold. They work at Crow. They do that like Accounting Plus VR. Justin Roiland, Rick and Morty. They do that.
Yes.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
So they do all the characters for the NPCs and the enemies and stuff. But anyway, back to the question. Working with John has been amazing. He's an amazing guy. He's a really down to earth guy, and he really knows his stuff. And some of the I'll tell you a story. This would happen all the time. Where I would want to do something with sound, like, hey, I want this gun to have this thing, and I want to be able to loop this, and I want to be able to do that. And he says, okay. And then he comes back to me 10 minutes later, and he's like, all right, my change has been committed. Go to town. It'll work that way now. So he's just, he's really on the ball, and he's, any ideas we have, he just brings them to life very quickly. So
that's awesome.
It's been great.
Yeah, that's great that you're working with a guy that has such a storied background, and knowing that he's down to earth like that. That's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about John. He's awesome.
No, it's cool though that like you take inspiration and you respect the people you're working with. I mean, nothing worse than like being next to someone you can't stand. So it must make the whole atmosphere when tackling a project like this much better.
Well, I mean, I think it's better, but I mean, there are some teams that work better, like JP and Rami at Vlambeer. They don't get along, and they have a very successful company. So I don't know.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough. Right. Well, next question for you, my dude. I have Kotaku did a preview story last month where they said Void Bastards is a shooter that looks cool as hell, which I think we can all agree. For me, Ryan, at the start, sorry, I misread that. For me, Ryan, the art style really jumps off the screen like a living comic book, and also makes Void Bastards a standout in the FPS genre. During development, when did the team decide on the cell shading and ultra cool graphics?
Well, like I said, we wanted to go with that style from the outset, like this billboarded, like extremely, a lot of color, a lot of like dynamic, colors and billboarded enemies and billboarded guns, with cool shaders on them. The art style I wish I could show you a video of our first tiny prototype, and it was literally, you had a mine or something, and it was, just, a flat 2D object, and the enemies were the same, 2D sprites. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, it's just always been, we're gonna go that way. And I think the reason for it was because we have a very small team, and instead of being like, hey, we're gonna have these huge, like, crazy high polygon you know, models, we can make it easier, but also we can make it more stylized, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, look, I'm gonna say this. You know, the one thing that I love about the title, Ryan, is that it is so uniquely different than anything that's currently out there. I mean, of course, I'm sure you guys have heard. Well, it kind of looks like Borderlands a little bit because it has that cell shaded art style. But the being in space element is just fantastic. And speaking of that, the weapons themselves look awesome. And all of them seem to be extremely unique. We've watched several trailers and videos that previewed, these weapons. Each weapon looks and acts different. The kitty bomb looks hilarious. And I know I've seen videos on your Twitter page about that. Can you speak about how many different weapon types there are in the game?
I actually don't know the exact number, but there are several versions of most of the guns that you want to upgrade that become different, more powerful, or function differently. Just kind of like System Shock type game. The kitty bot is great. It's mainly used to distract enemies, and then when it runs out of health, it just blows up.
So it can actually be used,
like
offensively as well.
Yeah, so the upgraded version actually explodes into like a cluster of explosions. Nice. So if the kitty bot goes in a room and you notice that it has very low health, you probably want to shut the door and not be in that room.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay. Well, I mean, I appreciate the information on the weapons. I didn't know that they were actually upgradable. Can you kind of speak on that? Each of the weapons, how much you can upgrade each weapon?
Yeah, I mean, there are several versions of the stapler, which is our version of the shotgun. They do more damage. Some of the upgrades just do more damage, like your pistols, called the regulator. Just ends up doing more damage, has a higher rate of fire. I think my favorite weapon, though, or my favorite different tool in the game, is called this thing called the Rifter. I don't know if you've seen it. We've shown some GIFs of it, but essentially what it does, it's like a 0-point energy gun. So you shoot it and it rifts an enemy, so it like goes into your gun, and then you can put that enemy wherever you want.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
You can, like, lock it into a room, and there's a lot of really cool emergent things you can do with that. Like you could subvert a turret, which means like to hack a turret, and then it becomes your turret. And then you don't have to just leave it there as a stationary turret. You could pick it up and then bring it with you, and then like put it in front of a door to guard the door, so you can go loot some stuff. So there's a lot of really cool things, like emergent things you can do with the Rifter. I think it's my favorite thing in the game.
That sounds awesome, and especially what makes it great is that it's unique. There's nothing like having a turret to back you up.
No, nice variation. The imagination behind some of these is quite funny. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Listen, go ahead, Welsh, on the next question.
Yeah. At XO18 in Mexico City on November 10th, 2018, which was the biggest Inside Xbox to date, no doubt, Void Bastards was revealed and has been getting a lot of positive buzz. And based on what I've seen, Ryan, it is well deserved. Last month on March 26th, Void Bastards was front and center for the first episode of Idea Xbox Game Pass. The 13-minute program talked about upcoming indie titles that were releasing into the Game Pass day and date. How has it been working with Microsoft, and how excited is the team to bring Void Bastards to the Xbox community?
I have to say, working with Microsoft has been phenomenal. They're really awesome to work with. They've been really supportive. They've really helped us, at different conferences, GDC, most recently at PAX. They got us all these amazing pins, and they had us, at several booths at their, at the Microsoft booth, and everybody there, Glenn. They've just been really fantastic at responding to emails, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say about Microsoft other than they've been super fantastic to us, and we're really happy to work with them.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. Are you generally though like buzzing at the thought of people getting their hands on this game?
Yeah, and I can't. I just everybody keeps asking me every day, when's the release date? When's the release date? And it's just like we're almost ready to announce it, but yeah, I just can't wait for people to get their hands on it. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. No, that's brilliant. It must be a huge sense of pride, like, job well done. And when people are playing it, I bet that'll be definitely something you take to tap the old chest and be like, job well done, job well done. On to you, Boom.
well,
Yeah.
Ryan, I just kind of want to talk about Xbox Game Pass for a second. You see, first of all, that particular topic is something that the Welsh Gamer and we are constantly talking about on the show. We both believe it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is really a great service. It offers a significant amount of titles. But what really excites me personally, with Void Bastards in particular being in there, is because Game Pass is a hot commodity right now. Void Bastards should be in front of as many gamers as their eyeballs, in my opinion. And I think this is such a fantastic opportunity to get a game of this caliber into a service that a lot of people have taken to. In your opinion, how big of a deal is to have it in Game Pass when it launches?
I think it's a fantastic service as well, and Microsoft has been very, very awesome at like putting us out front and publicizing us. And I think right now the two top indie games that people are looking forward to on, and I could be wrong, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's Void Bastards and After Party.
Oh yes, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
Those are the games that Microsoft is really trying to be like, hey, look at this cool Game Pass content that we have, and it's awesome. I mean, there's going to be thousands and thousands of players that are just going to be able to turn on their Xbox and play Void Bastards, and they don't have to worry about, they have it, and I think that's great. I think that's really fun.
Yeah, no, I think that this is the title that's going to be talked about when you come to the end of the year. The top 50, top 100, but like with Game Informer and some of the other outlets, this title is going to be there simply because of how incredible it looks, and it looks like it plays like a dream. But I want to move on to the next question, if that's okay, Ryan.
Yeah.
Can you let the audience know about the actual characters in Void Bastards? Who are they, and what happened to you when you die in the game? Can you answer that?
Yeah, so the characters are all actually procedurally generated characters.
Okay.
So all their portraits are procedurally generated based on their traits. So if you get a trait that's like, you're short or something like that, your character portrait is actually like, you can only see the top part of their head on their portrait. But anyway, when you die in the game, essentially what happens is you're going around the game, you're picking up loot, you're picking up different stuff, and you're trying to construct and upgrade your weaponry and your different tools and items and things like that. So everything that you build, you get to keep it. So you have this backpack. What happens when you die? Your backpack comes off, and then it goes to the next person that gets revived, and it goes on their back. So all the stuff you've constructed is in the backpack. That's the narrative.
Okay. So even when you die, obviously you're gonna start from the beginning of the level, but do you have to find the backpack?
No. You just it's just part of the narrative. It's not like
okay. So it's always
like
going to be there for you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Look, let me just ask another question. It actually kind of works into this. As we know, you said the campaign is procedurally generated, and will play different each time that you have to start a new character. Was this the idea behind this design? What was the actual idea behind this particular design?
So I think originally John wanted to make a System Shock like. What if we made a game like System Shock, but it was procedural? So from the outset, that's what we were trying to do.
Nice.
So yeah, we want to make an immersive sim plus procedural stuff, and yeah, that's what the game is. We did it. So
Well, it looks like it's gonna be a blast for sure. Take it away, Drew.
Yeah, no, awesome. Each level is a ship that you are searching, and it appears that the way you navigate through each ship through a grid type path. Do you pick your own path and control where you go?
sorry, did my mic cut out there? Am I still here?
No, you're still here. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're still
here.
good. Yeah.
Okay, so you do actually pick your own. The star map is actually also procedurally generated. So
Okay, great.
it's different every time you die and you come back. And so what ends up happening is you land on a ship, and then the ship has a whole bunch of traits, and the traits will be also procedurally generated with different. Some traits are like, oh, it's dark, so the lights are out. It's very hard to see. You have to use kind of your gunfire to light up the areas or the windows. You can see outside into space, but everything else is very black. So each ship is also procedurally generated, like I said, and yeah, the star map is also like everything basically is a procedurally generated. So
Oh, cool, man. How about you, Boom?
Okay, well, you know what, Ryan, I watched. I think we both watched the 18-minute video for IGN's first look, which that was great to have that on there. Obviously, IGN is a big publication, so there are tons of eyes watching the video, and it showed many different enemy types, which all looked extremely unique. Are the enemies themselves procedurally generated, and how many are on each level? Is that also determined on what kind of a ship you're on?
it is actually. So before you go on a ship, it'll tell you there's a certain number of these enemies on the ship.
Okay, that's good.
So you always have the star map is a great opportunity to look at your. You'll see this when you play the game, but to look at your weapon types, how much ammo you have for each weapon, and those tools that you have, looking at the obstacles that are in the level. These enemy types are difficult to defeat with these weapons that I have. Maybe I don't want to go on that ship. Maybe I'll go to a different ship. So yeah, and also I think you mentioned the enemies being procedurally generated. I think
Yes.
you said something about that.
Yeah.
The enemies are not actually procedurally generated. Those are those are designed.
Okay.
But they do have different levels. So as you progress through the game, enemies become more powerful. Even though they have the same way of killing them, they might get faster, or they might shoot explosive rounds at you. So enemies, they are designed, but they have more powerful versions of them in the game.
Nice. Now, when you come to the end of each ship, I'm assuming that it would be like finishing a level. Are there any boss battles?
Okay, so that's one of the ship traits. Like if you go, you'll see it when you land on a ship on the star map. It says boss. And basically what that does is we just make one of the enemies super duper powerful. And so it's not like a boss in a traditional sense, but there are boss enemies, sort of like more difficult enemies, kind of like Isaac, I guess, Binding of Isaac, where there's a more difficult version of an enemy. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, well, that makes sense. I mean, at least we know that it's not going to be a cakewalk through some of these ships.
Well, yeah, if you get like a boss, it says boss enemy, and there's all screws on the ship, like those are one of the most powerful enemies in the game. You might not want to go on that ship because they're super powerful, and then they're going to be extra powerful. So
nice. Okay.
Cool. Right, what do we have next, Ryan? Ryan, even though you've explained what happens to your current character when you perish within Void Bastards, is there a save point before each level, allowing the player to continue the game and not losing all of their progress and eventually completing it?
So when you okay, so the way it works is if your character is on the star map, like you've completed a level, you can exit the game. You're fine. It'll save. You know, you're fine. But if you're in a level, part of the challenge of a level is getting in, getting stuff, and leaving. So if you quit the game while you're in a level, you will die, and then you have to come
Oh,
back.
okay.
Game. So yeah, part of the challenge is leaving the level. So
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's cool. So, but essentially, it just encourages the individual who's playing to see the mission through before you even think about leaving. Otherwise, you'll like lose whatever progress you've made.
exactly. If you get on a ship and you die or you decide to quit the game, there's you haven't completed a ship. Like you haven't completed the challenge. So
Gotcha.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that. That's very interesting. No, cheers. That was a good answer. Thank you.
You know, Ryan, with Void Bastards having procedurally generated levels, like we've talked about in the beginning of the interview, after finishing the actual campaign, does this development choice encourage players to run through the game again and again with the purpose of offering a tremendous amount of replay value?
so we do. I mean, obviously the game is procedural. You can play through it, several times, and you'll never have the same playthrough. But
That's great.
we do have different difficulty levels. We also have a mode called Iron Man mode, which is one death. You have one guy, and that's it. So players might want to try to get through the game with one life. I couldn't do it, but some gamer will. And we also are. We haven't announced it yet, or I'm actually not ready to talk about it yet. But we do have some post game content that people will want to go through the game again with maybe different weapons or items.
Oh, that's awesome. See, now you heard that here first, folks. I didn't hear this in the IGN interview or at GDC. So you heard it first on this show that there might be something post-launch, which is, Ryan, thanks so much for actually talking about that. Because, obviously you're limited to what you can say. And of course, we are gentlemen on this show, and we're not going to put you in any kind of harm's way with the company. And of course, we appreciate you being here. Why don't you take the last question, Drew, and then you get into the community questions.
Absolutely, with pleasure. Right, with Void Bastards having procedurally generated levels, after finishing the campaign, does this development choice encourage the player to run through the game with the purpose of
Actually, I'm so sorry. We already talked about that, and I don't know if I sent you the 14th question. So if you don't mind, Drew, I'm just gonna run it because that might have been my mistake. I apologize for that.
That's really weird because that it had a 14 next to it as well. Oh, my bad, Ryan. Sorry, my dude.
No, that's okay. Listen, you get hiccups every now and again, Ryan. Listen, being YouTube personalities like we are, and we're small on the food chain. We report the news as we find it, and we're always hearing about the dreaded developer crunch. But in so many interviews that we've seen, you talk about working at Blu Manchu. It sounds like an awesome place to work. How has working on Void Bastards been for you at the company?
Well, like I mentioned before, working with John, and honestly, the whole team, everybody gets along. We're a small team. Ben is the art director. He's awesome to work with. I actually got to. I met him a couple of years ago, but we actually got to hang out at GDC this year, and it was just phenomenal. We were doing. One night we'd go to 2 or 3 parties, and he likes to party. He's still, he also did what's that other comic book game that Irrational did there with Ken, Freedom Force. He was an artist on Freedom Force as well. So he's been doing this for a while, but longer than I have. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been awesome to hang out with Ben and, you know, making jokes and having margaritas. I don't know. It's everybody gets along. It's just been such a positive experience. You know, I would definitely work with the team again down the road. So
yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, if you can you know talk about your coworkers glowingly the way you have, that's got to be a really cool place to you know go in each and every day. Especially obviously you're putting out, you know, this is our you know, people don't seem to forget about that gaming development is artistic work. Not everyone's always going to agree, but it's like I said, it sounds like you're having a blast, and that's really awesome. Again, the question out of order thing, that was completely my fault, so I apologize for that. But why don't you, Drew? Why don't you take the 3 community questions that you were able to gather, and they're pretty good.
Hang on. Before you do that, you mentioned crunch.
Yes.
You mentioned crunch.
Yes.
We talk about that. So I just want to say that at Blu Manchu, we haven't really experienced, you know, John, I think part of it is because John has been so, like, he's been through the ringer, you know, BioShock and
yeah,
System Shock. Like, he's just such a good, you know, guy to work with. He keeps everybody organized. He knows how to make sure that we have everything ready to go and we're not crunching right now. So it's great. We're at the point where the game is pretty much done and we're just cruising through to the release, you know, like it's great.
Yeah, that's you know, that again, that's one of those things. Again, obviously, you know, you're a developer, so you know, a lot of developers read stories. They have friends that work at other places. Now, we've heard what happened with BioWare, you know, with the development of Anthem, right? And that was, you know, that was a story that really kind of just caught the whole industry by storm. It shocked a lot of people. Again, I haven't been in the business that long, and I've heard, you know, you hear. I mean, again, what do I know? I'm just a guy behind a microphone, so I'm not a developer, so I don't understand a lot of the inner workings at some of these companies. But it's certainly refreshing to hear that your experience at a smaller company putting out such a, in my opinion, it's a big title. I mean, it is AAA polish. There's no doubt about it from the previews that both Drew and I have seen. I have extremely high hopes for Void Bastards. And you know, again, I appreciate you talking about that, because, you know, when you talk about crunch, it's obviously could be a negative thing, at least the way the media makes it out to be. Unfortunately, it's been in the media the last couple of weeks. But this is great to hear that your time at Blu Manchu Games has been nothing short of amazing. Drew, do you want to follow up with the 3 community questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll begin by apologizing for asking you the same question twice.
Stop it, dude. That's my fault.
Oh, man, honestly, I'm not going to lie, Ryan. I am a nervous wreck over here. This is the first time I've ever done this. You're lucky I didn't start from the very beginning. So I think... Oh, man.
Hey, this has been great. This has been great. I'm having fun. Like, I'm drinking a Coke here, and I'm sitting at my desk, you know, we're having fun.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. This is a first for me, so I do apologize for the slip up. But as for the community questions, I basically went to Twitter and put out like that we had you on, and I basically said, you know, people reply with your questions and I'll pick 3 at random on the day. We have at least 10, so I'm just going to grab them at random. So the first one by Crazy Greek Dude. He wants to know what the first game is that you ever worked on.
The first game that I ever worked on. Wow. So let me preface this by saying I started making games in high school by myself. So I actually, you know, started making games. I think it was mostly an RPG Maker, and so maybe the first game I worked on was my own game in high school. But I don't know if he wants to know the first game that I worked on that was like a commercial game, I guess, maybe. I think
yeah, go for it. I mean, he hasn't gone into details, so whatever you feel comfortable unveiling to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I worked on this game, this it was like a puzzle game on the bottom, and it was you were a platformer. It was a platform. It was called Nestor's Adventure or something. I don't know. It was a small studio in on the east coast of Canada in a province called Prince Edward Island.
Nice.
And it was, I think that was probably the first game where, yeah, they were like, all right, here's a paycheck.
not that he asked me this, but how old were you roughly, if you don't mind me asking, when you were working on this game?
Oh, I don't know. I might have been 21.
See, that's incredible, man. If I may say so myself, like I'm 25, 26 this year. And like Christ, if you gave me the tools to make a game, I'd be like a fish out of water. So the fact that you were making your first game, like, well, would have been 6 years ago if it was me. That's amazing, man. Fair dues to you. And you were doing it in school as well. You were ahead of your time, sir.
Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people, you see a lot of kids now, like, you know, I'm in my 30s now, but like, you know, there are a lot of kids that are making games and, you know, better games than, you know, I started making games when I was, you know, 15, 16. But I see what the kids are doing now that are 15 or 16, and I'm just like, it's, you know, they're using Unreal and Unity, and they have so many tools now, and it's mind-blowing what we're going to see, like these, you know, kids that are 20, 21 that have made phenomenal games, you know, already. And I think we're seeing that, and I think that's awesome. That's cool.
That's fantastic. You know? No, that's fantastic. Another, I have basically, I have a few more questions from Greek Dude, and I'll pick one of his, and then I've got one question from somebody else. So I'll grab just one at random, another one of Crazy Greek Dudes. Right, this is interesting. How early on, or how far into a game's development does the sound begin to enter? Like, when does it become a crucial part of the planning?
Hey, a sound question. Hey, that's there we go. So yeah, I came on board very early on. So I think the game had only been in like prototype phase for, I think, maybe a couple months before I came on, and the team was like coming out of Card Hunter. They're like, actually, you know, we're going to make this procedural FPS. We probably need somebody that knows audio and can come on, you know, early on to develop the sort of sound and what Void Bastards should sound like. And so, yeah, for this project, I was brought on very, very early on. But I have worked on games where I come on a lot later. Like recently, I was on the end of the tail end of a game called Guacamelee 2.
Nice.
Which was like, you know, I just came on the last probably 6 months just to, you know, all the bosses needed sound, all the, you know, it just to clean up, you know, what the sounds that they already had from the first game, and kind of just make it a little bit bigger, and, you know, do some of the cutscenes and stuff. And that's been okay too. But I really like when I get to shape the sound of a game and I'm not rushed, you know, like it's really fun to be able to work alongside the art director, you know, Ben, and, you know, talk about how this explosion should sound like this, and then we make it look like a certain thing, and then we go back and forth, and it's, I don't know, I like that. It's nice.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's the thing. Like it's a good question, because I've always been curious to this myself, because when I do think of any game like I've ever played, like sound, like it probably goes overlooked for some people, because, like, you know, they just pick up a game and they're the beautiful graphics, or pew pew, I'm shooting a gun, wicked. But like, but when I think of a video game, as well as even a movie, like, you know, like certain mediums, you know, because they are quite similar with the exception of having a controller, sound has to be, in my opinion, up there as maybe number 1, number 2 slot of how important it is. So it is very interesting to know that you were working on the sounds in this game pretty much from the beginning. So that's a question I certainly am glad he asked, because I was curious of that myself, and I enjoyed your answer to that, dude.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, you know, I have lots to say about sound stuff. I mean, that's what I did, but yeah, I mean, I think that this game has probably been the most intense. Like I did a whole mixing session at. So I use this audio middleware called Wise, and it's fantastic. And I was able to go to their studio and actually mix the game. We mixed the game in a 7.1 environment, like in an Atmos room.
Nice.
So we got a really cool mix. We also have like a headphones mix and a TV mix. So it's like if you have a low end system, you'll still sound good if you want to use those settings. And I think for an indie game, you know, having this sort of dynamic range is something that's like not heard of. You know, like I feel awesome that I was able to put this, you know, these different mix settings into a indie game. Like that's awesome, you know.
That's fantastic, man. I have one final question for you from the community, and it goes as follows. Whatever Final Cut is for the whole soundtrack of the game, was there any specific inspiration that was drawn from, like a movie, TV series watched, musician, etc.?
Well, I started sort of writing music similar to, because it was such a serious game from the outset. I started kind of pulling stuff from System Shock 2, like this, you know, electronic, but like, you know, maybe like Aphex Twin style, like weird kind of ambient atmospheric stuff that with a driving rhythm. And you know, down the road, you know, the pirates in the game ended up being like, you know, punk pirates. So I got to write some punk music with my friend Ryan. We wrote a little bit of like industrial metal. Yeah, so the soundtrack is, I would say the inspiration comes from System Shock 2.
Nice.
Like I would say that.
Awesome. No, that's class. I suppose that's got to be one of the most important things when you're constructing any kind of sound project. Like you got to have inspirations. There's got to be certain things. Sure, like at least I can only imagine. Like you take inspiration from things, because how else do you? I don't know. How else would you even think of anything unless it's like maybe something you heard and something else you heard, and you're like, oh, if they put that together, or if they did it like this, and then you put your own hand to it. Is that how it kind of goes about, or is it more of a just like a bypass thing, like you hear it once and you got an idea? Or
well, I mean, anybody's compositional style or whatever is, even artists, like whatever, it's just an amalgamation of it. I mean, you don't think about it consciously, but
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Subconsciously, it's like, hey, it's an amalgamation of every single piece of media I've ever absorbed.
No,
you know?
sure.
And
no, for sure.
That's just, I feel like that's how everybody makes
no,
art.
No, definitely. It's like, I suppose, like if you gave like the average person a piece of pencil and a piece of paper and just said, right, draw a superhero. Make up a superhero right now. They'd end up drawing like Iron Man with Hulk arms, Captain America's shield, like just like nothing overly original. Just like just a Frankenstein monster of all my favorite Marvel characters. No, that's cool, man. I appreciate it. Just before I give it back to Boom, I forgot to mention that question that I just asked you was from Christina Price, a community member who messaged me her question. So, no, that's fantastic, Ryan. Appreciate you answering the community's questions as well as ours, and I'll give it back to Boom.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Ryan. First of all, like I said in the beginning of the show, it is a real honor to have you on and talking about Void Bastards. This obviously was a first-time thing for both Drew and I. And the fact that you were able to be here today has been nothing short of amazing. It is definitely a highlight in both of our careers for sure. I think, like I told you privately, I think that you guys have a real winner here. This is going to come up in the conversation of, top 25 games of 2019 for sure, whenever it releases. It going into Game Pass is great because it's going to be in the hands and have eyes on it with thousands and thousands of people that have Game Pass. It is a very successful service for Microsoft, and having you guys in there from jump is going to be big for the game. I know you can only be with us for an hour, and I just kind of wanted to thank you again. Drew, any last words for Ryan?
Nothing other than thank you. Like, I appreciate it. I know my nerves got the better of me, and I might have said
Stop
the
it,
word
dude.
bastards too many times. But regardless, your company was more than appreciated. I enjoyed your insight, and just fantastic work, man. Just like, the game looks beautiful. You must be very proud, and it was a pleasure having you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem. I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
Okay. I have a question for you guys. So I keep seeing this picture pop up, and it's got this. You've got like a picture of yourself as it looks like Leon Kent. Is this a Resident Evil?
Yes.
Resident Evil. Am I right?
Yes, you are. Absolutely. You have a keen eye. The artwork that you see in front of you, as we have someone in the community. His name is J Dubs. He's known as the Graphic God. He's actually in the chat right now. His artwork is unbelievable. He's out of Canada, and he actually is responsible for all of the artwork for this channel. And he actually, what you're seeing is a caricature that he drew from scratch. And what he wound up doing, Ryan, and it's pretty interesting. It's good that you asked that question. My face, he drew that from one of my special edition unboxings, where he paused the YouTube video and did the sketch. And my wife, when she sees it, she goes, "Look, I'm going to be honest with you. It is so good. It is creepy good. That's how good it is." So yeah, it says it is. I'm a big Resident Evil fan. The name MrBooMStickXL comes from my love of the Evil Dead, which of course I'm a big Ash fan. And that's how I put that together. But yes, that's me wearing a Leon S. Kennedy Resident Evil 2 outfit. That is a real keen eye you have there, Ryan.
Very cool. Well, I just finished playing all the 4 Resident Evil. I really enjoyed that game. So
it's right now as it stands. It's still it's my game of the year 2019. What Capcom did with that game was nothing short of amazing. Obviously in '98 when the original release, to come back and remake the original in the way they did, it was just outstanding. But before you go, Ryan, obviously I want more eyes on this game. We talked privately. I want to help promote this game. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. More specifically, follow Blu Manchu Games on Twitter, and go to YouTube to check out the different videos with you did with IGN, and that you did the interview with the GDC, and where they can actually see the game trailer for it.
I mean, it's posted right at the top of our Twitter page.
Yes.
It's that Void Bastards. Pretty easy to remember. All one word. And I go by at Dual Ryan on Twitter.
Nice.
I'll be talking about the soundtrack, which I finished, and it's going to be coming up soon. It'll be on iTunes and Spotify and all that.
Nice.
All that jazz. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the trailer is at the top of our Twitter page. You can check that out. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to find. I mean, if you Google Void Bastards, like there's so many articles. It's fantastic,
Well, yeah, that's the one thing. As we get you out of the door, the media attention that you guys have gotten, it isn't because of the name. It's because the game is so uniquely different and looks so appealing to the eye. Like I told you, I think you have a winner here. And I honestly, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the team, considering that it's such a small team. What you guys have been able to do has been nothing short of incredible, and I can't wait to play.
Yeah, me too. I second that motion.
Well, maybe I don't. Do you guys stream games? I don't know if you stream games. Do you do that sometimes or no?
I've been asked to do it. I haven't had a chance to do it. I would stream Void Bastards because that would be a game that you get a lot of eyes on. I think a lot of people would dig that.
All right. Well, maybe we'll talk after the show. Maybe we can get you a pre-release build or something.
Oh, that would be fantastic. That would be great. Yeah. Again, breaking news on this particular small program. So once again, Ryan, I want to thank you again. It's like the 50th time I thanked you, but it is I don't mind saying it because, like I said, this is a big deal for this channel. Maybe in the future we can have you come back at your earliest convenience. And in regards to the build you were talking about, we'll talk privately in DM. We won't do that over the air. Thank you again for being here, and please enjoy the rest of your day, Ryan.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. It was great.
That was awesome, man. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, that was Ryan Roth, who is again, he doesn't like to be called the audio director from Void Bastards. And of course, get over to Void Bastards, check out the trailer, follow them on Twitter, follow Ryan at Dual Ryan on Twitter. And I think you guys are going to be really impressed with the game. And like I said, you heard it live here that we're going to be probably getting a chance to maybe stream it a little early, which would be really, really great to do. But you know what? This has been a great show. A couple of shout outs real quick. Tempest Sun in the chat dropped a $10 super chat. So I have to say thank you for that. That was a little earlier. He says, I love the show. Always boom. Keep up the amazing work. And to Ryan, I'm going to play Void Bastards day one. Looks phenomenal. Hope for the best. Yes, that is true. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure Ryan is happy to hear that. We have a second super chat for $5 from Ricardo Willis. He says, great interview. You two are the best. Well, thank you, Ricardo. That is extremely kind of you to say. And, Drew, first of all, your nerves did not get the best of you. You did a killer job with the interview. We had a little bit of a hiccup, but I think actually that's on my end because I'm not sure if I sent you the question.
No, mate, I'll tell you what happened. You know me, I love to be as prepared as a goose to a picnic when it comes to putting my notes together and stuff. And what I've somehow done is I had question 13 down twice because I color coded it. Red was for the questions you were going to ask, and green were the questions I was going to ask. And at some point, I've copied and pasted the same question twice, but with a 14. So you'd asked it, and my nerves getting the better of me. I'm twitching like hell while Ryan's speaking, and then you're like, right, Welsh, do you want to ask the last question? All I saw was the number 14. I was like, you could do this, Bowen. You could do this. And I started reading it, and you were like, Welsh, you fool.
No. Nobody's a fool. Listen. First of all, listen. You guys in the chat. You got to understand something. We are you can consider us an indie, channels. We're small. I think between the both of us, we don't even have 5,000 subs. But we're working on it. Obviously, I've only been in the business for 18 months. And I'm on the doorstep of 2,400 subs. Of course, I'd love to have 24,000. Unlike some other people, though, we're not going to sell out for clicks. What you get on this show is honesty, you get integrity, and you get accountability. And we're going to do some different.
Boom, and yes, you get Welsh rants.
Well, the Welsh rants are usually well deserved. They're not off the cuff, where you're making an ass out of yourself. You're being truthful, and I think that's what separates this particular show from so many others that are just looking for the clickbait shenanigans, if you will. But you know what, Drew? Look, now that Ryan has left us, there's still a ton of awesome, Xbox news to talk about. And I kind of want to go in reverse order, if that's okay. I want to, obviously we had Inside Xbox. I thought it was a fine show. Of course, there has been several people in the community, the boo birds, if you will, that have always something negative to say. And, we don't strive to be negative. If there's something that's worthy of talking about, we will discuss it in a proper manner. And we will also answer the questions of the community based on what we're saying. But we're not going to be just, I guess, Debbie Downers, if you will. If your name is Debbie, I apologize. I'm not throwing you in the umbrella. But, look, the Phil Spencer interview with Larry Herb towards the end of the Inside Xbox. And again, I know we're going in reverse order. They mentioned Ultimate Game Pass, which is a big deal. Everyone knows how Welsh and I feel about Game Pass. The Xbox One S All Digital Edition, updates to Game Bar, Project X Cloud. They talked about this briefly, but according to Phil, the strategy here is putting the gamer first. That Microsoft, and this is a point that Microsoft has been driving home, making gaming accessible to every gamer, no matter where you are or what you play on. Really, and they've been driving this truck home with Project X Cloud, and it's a real thing, and it's going to be very important for the platform moving forward. Drew, what's interesting is when Phil talks about his recent trip to Korea and Japan, more specifically, he mentions, and this is where it gets good, he mentions that he gets to see games they're working on, and he indicated there may be, based on what he was saying, third-party exclusives showing up at this E3. Because if he's flying to Japan, if he's flying to Korea, and he's looking at games early on that people are working for, obviously they're working on them for Xbox. And we know that in that particular region of the world, the Xbox doesn't sell well, but the JRPG community, regardless if it's a niche one or not, is still important. I mean, obviously, it's blatantly important for the PlayStation community because they have all those second-party games that Microsoft seems to be missing. First of all, what were your takes from the interview on that particular piece, Welsh?
All right, I just gotta say this totally up front. I am absolutely loving the support for Japanese games. While I'll be honest, apart from a handful, like from Capcom maybe and whatever, I'm not the biggest proponent for Japanese games, but still, nonetheless, I'm a gamer and I'm for the gamers. So I think it's great because people tend to look over the fact that the lack of Japanese support on Xbox was a huge narrative boom, as you know. And Phil has definitely made good on his promise to secure a lot of stuff, like with Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That's a huge game to land on the Xbox platform. While not exclusive, it's still a huge deal for Xbox fans that love the Japanese games. There's more dropping all the time. Like it is constantly seems to be like a new title here, new title there. Titles that were at one point, as you just mentioned, third-party handout hashtag exclusives for the PlayStation because they didn't really have a home on Xbox until now. But the fact that there could potentially be third-party exclusives, because of Phil Spencer's negotiations out there in Japan, is a huge deal, Boom. Whether you like Japanese games or not, it is a big deal. But even if they are not exclusive to the Xbox platform, I still welcome more Japanese projects to hit the Xbox platform. Rather than just being secured only to the PlayStation platform, as it's what a lot of people want. And Phil is clearly listening, and big ups to him. Big ups to him.
It's funny. These things obviously it was pre-recorded. Phil wasn't there, and I don't mind that. I actually don't mind that at all. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Larry kind of put Phil on the spot. And they kind of joked about it, and they left it in there, and I'm kind of glad. And he said this: while you were touring Asia, I saw you playing Destiny 2. And Phil laughs and says, "Yeah, he's trying to hit light level 700. He's currently 650, and it's driving him crazy." Now, first of all, that statement: if you're an Xbox gamer, if you are someone who wants to know what a real gamer who makes a big ton of money working for the corporation, and you want to feel like he's one of you, Phil Spencer is your man. I'm sorry to say, I'm not going to get on the start banging the drum. First of all, I think Phil as a person is one of the nicest human beings I think I've ever seen within the media. He talks to people like they're people. You have to understand something. You do not get this from the head of Nintendo. I like Reggie, and obviously we know he's retired. I don't know how Bowser's going to be, right? But I'm sure they picked him for a reason. And the people at Sony, they don't act like your friends. I'm going to say this: Sean Layden, I like the dude a lot. I take nothing away from him. When he's out there on stage, he's talking to the fans. He's talking to his fans. but that's the only time you get that. You don't see him on Twitter. He's not gaming with the community. You just don't hear about that. And you do hear about that. I mean, Wells, look at the statement. He says he's trying to hit light level 700. He's stuck at 650 and he's driving him crazy. That's something me and you would say when we're talking about playing the Division or something, right? I mean, that in itself is why I love Phil Spencer. And you know what? You can say whatever you want about me, being a fanboy, being a suck up. I don't care. I like what Phil Spencer's about. I like the way he handles his business, and I like his interactions with the community. But you know what? What's important about this particular interview is that over in January, when the start of the year in 2019, he's been using the alpha and beta. He's actually been alpha and beta testing Project X Cloud, and then he confirms he was playing on his phone with the controller on a server set up directly for him. Now, of course, it's just his server. But this is still early on, and what's interesting is that he makes it his business, Welsh, to play test these things, to give his feedback, to make sure that when it's ready for the customer, right? When it's ready for the customer, it's going to be ready to go. What are your takes on this, dude?
This is huge. For this is, I'm sorry, again, maybe some people are listening and going like, oh, Welsh, God, you're far too happy. But I just say it as I see it, as it comes off to me. This is a huge deal, like for xCloud, especially moving forward, as a lot of people were, left in disbelief after the demonstration of last episode of Inside Xbox. Not the one that just happened, the one before it with that girl demoing Forza. And the fact that Phil was demoing this himself with his own
Japan, by the way.
I know. It's amazing. The dude truly is a gamer, man. Like that. That is why he's where he is. He's a gamer at heart, and and the fact that Phil was actually demoing this himself with his own private server leads me to believe, which is exciting, Boom, that it's not nearly as in its infancy as I have previously theorized. Don't get me wrong. The xCloud and being able to play on your phone and stuff while Phil was using it, it most likely has a lot of work to be done before it can hit the big big league, so everyone can get their hand on it. But this is sounding very promising for Phil to be confidently saying how he's been playing it, like casually play, like that just says so much for me. And like I think E3 is going to be focusing on xCloud so much, and I can't wait to see it in action. As like I've said on this show before to you, Boom, Xbox has only one true competitor now moving into the future, and that is Google Stadia. So Xbox needs to lay down the xCloud hard with clear messaging so people know that Xbox was here first and has the superior service and gamer options to offer. So literally that's when Phil says like, oh yeah, I was alpha and beta testing Project xCloud, I had a server to myself, I was playing off my phone. Like he says it so casually because he's so cool to the bone, man. Like he's a gamer and he loves what he's doing. He's so involved in it. And you just know that E3, like when they demonstrate the xCloud, it's a lot of the progress that it has made will be because of him demoing and him putting his piece in and being like, this is what needs to be done, this needs fixing here. And he's so hands-on. It's phenomenal stuff, Boom. But in terms of the xCloud, E3 is going to be a big place. So mark your calendars, guys. Like it's going to be huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Real quick, I have to say a big thank you for the unbelievable $20 super chat from Robert Olson, who simply says, great show. First of all, thanks for being here, dude. And obviously, thank you for the compliment. Both the Welsh and I work really hard to make sure that these shows rock. We had over 100 people watching. Let's before we go any further, hit that like button. Help us, grow this particular show. It is, I mean, sure, there are several Xbox shows out there. You have Xbox Nation, and of course, you have the outstanding RDX podcast with Dealer, Colt, and the rest of the gang. If you missed this week's show, I posted on Twitter. I had to give him a congratulations. Not only did he have the insatiable Brad Sams, who was on our show last week, who had some great knowledge, but Mike Ybarra jumps in towards the end. Look, I'm going to say this. Mike, I don't know if you're listening, And this is a very small show, so I doubt he even has ever heard of Boomstick and the Welsh Gamer or even the Xbox Factor podcast. But my goodness, the door and the invitation is wide open. Even if it's 5 minutes, get on here. Let's talk about Xbox Game Pass. It's one of our favorite subjects, and we would be honored to have you on if you're listening, Mike. But you know what? Let's move on to what Phil had to say about E3, Welsh. This is, in my opinion, where, I've already said really good, so I'm going to say it's really good when they start talking about E3. And Phil Spencer says a few things that are pretty, that were important. He says this, E3, this E3 is going to be an interesting one because Microsoft is center stage. And I feel I have a responsibility to gaming, and the team wants to do a good job representing gaming because all of the gaming media and the world will be watching. Drew, it's these kind of answers that not only get me excited for E3, but also give me confidence that it's going to be the best Xbox show in the company's history. What do you say to that, dude?
Right, Boom, my man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Fantastic, because I do not want to miss a beat on this question. That is for damn sure. But it is no secret how I feel, Boom. This is quite literally, in my opinion, and I know for a fact that yourself, Salty, Microbox of X, and there's a million of other people, and I bet you 99.999% of the chat will agree with me here. At least I believe, I hope they do. But in my opinion, this is the most important E3 of this generation. An argument can even be made for Xbox as a whole in its entirety. I have said this before, and I will just say it one more time because it's true. This is huge. So with that said, Boom, Phil knows the stakes here, as it's one thing for them to come out, show the games, make another acquisition announcement, and ultimately get the crowd excited. And in that respect, we all know Xbox will kill it, as they do every single year. But, and this is huge, this is a huge but, they need to land the sustenance of what Xbox is up to. 110% transparency. In a nutshell, without repeating myself again, they need to provide a clear roadmap for what is to come so that everyone from casual to hardcore can understand what Xbox is doing from its services, games, and hardware. Just everything that is under the Xbox umbrella, map it out, show everyone in the most layman term possible. That is what Xbox needs to do in order to ensure a successful transition and beginning to the next generation. Leave no rocks unturned and don't give the media anything to run with that isn't completely accurate, as all eyes will be on Xbox and the media will generally always be looking for anything to twist and turn into a new narrative against the platform. Said and done, Boom. I can't say much more than that. They know how big this is. We all know how big this is. Just go out there, no pressure. Oh, maybe a lot of pressure, but they got this though. They just need to do everything I just said, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Real quick before I keep on with the interview with Phil Spencer, a good friend of the show, a good friend of mine. I've never met the gentleman in person, but we talk on the DM on a regular basis. Tony Brennan of Twitter at Tony BUFC. He reached out to me before the show this week and dropped a code for Knights of the Old Republic 1, which is a fantastic title. It's obviously an OG Xbox title. It's obviously backwards compatible, and he wanted me to give it away on the show. So because I do things fair. And because I picked the winner, and whoever it is, use the code, give it away, whatever. Do me a favor, if you're interested and you want to win a copy of Knights of the Old Republic 1, who's being donated by Tony Brennan of Twitter, go to Twitter now, type in the hashtag, all lower caps, Boom is a Jedi. That's BoomIsJedi. And you know what? I purposely did that because you know what? Maybe I am a Jedi and you don't know it. But you know what? Go to Twitter. Hashtag
Sorry,
Boom is a Jedi.
Boom, you're full of shit, mate. You're a Sith. You're awful.
I could never be. I can't. I hate being a bad guy. I
Well,
throw a piece of paper on the floor and I walk back and I pick it up. Come on.
Here we go. See, guys, everyone in the chat. What have I said? What did I tell you this week? Last week, I warned you. He's all Mr. Hello. I'm Mr. Boomstick. Good to meet you. And then the second we go off the air, he's mean. He's a bully. He screams at me. Oh man, God, more like hashtag Boom the Sith Lord. Christ.
That's great. I love it. Boom is Revan.
Boom is Palpatine in disguise.
Oh my God! You know what? I got to be honest. If I was Palpatine, I'd have a lot of money. So that guy's loaded.
Palpatine in disguise. Boom.
You know, Drew. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the interview, and we're going to get into the rest of what happened during Inside Xbox. Phil continuously mentions fans and community. He's constantly saying those two particular words. And when he talks about both subjects, and this is how you know he's not full of shit, is that he smiles and there's genuine emotion that he's displaying during these interviews when he mentions community and when when he talks about the fans. He's happy. He talked about when he walks out on E3 on the stage of E3, he looks into the crowd and he sees people he knows. I mean, this guy is the head guy of Xbox Game Studio, and he's that down to earth. Okay, this is why I think he's the perfect guy to run the Xbox division. Do you kind of want to add to that, Welsh?
Absolutely. Don't make it too easy for me, Boom. Honestly, what you just said, Boom, so eloquently is why Phil Spencer is the man for the job. I know we just talked about how he games on the road, and even after doing his job till whatever time in the evening, he's playing video games in his hotel room division till late in the AM, like Saltiest Gaming has told me. But this is literally what you just said about his presence in the community and how elated he becomes when he talks about, how he feels about the community and when he talks about the division, the gaming, everything. He is oozing. This is why the man is perfect for the job. The fanboys and trolls over the years, may point the finger and laugh, but the truth is he is the man for the job. He's a gamer, for God's sake. We can't say it anymore. He's traveling to Japan for work, Boom. And when he's back in his hotel, when he should be like kipping, ready for the next day or for his flight or whatever, he's grinding on Destiny to early hours in the morning. Like, it's his passion, and it literally bleeds out of him when he talks because he means it. Obviously, this is a business to him. Obviously, he has a job to do, but you can tell that everything he has done and has been for the gamer. Even when you consider the Play Anywhere stuff that people bitch and moan about, he's allowing people on multiple devices to access Xbox's library. People will point and laugh, but who is really the one laughing at the end of the day? He's essentially making his empire take over the world, the Xbox empire, if you will. Christ, that's a good name for a podcast. Anyway, he cares about gaming and everyone being able to get a piece of that pie, and that is why the man is so buzzing every time he talks about it, because he can just see. But essentially, when this is the analogy I'll use, Boom, and it just come to mind. Phil Spencer, when he came to Xbox, he was tasked a big load. He had a lot of weight on his shoulders. And the only way I can compare it is like he went into his back garden with an oak tree seed and just put it in the middle of the grass, chucked some water on it and left it. And now, right now as we speak, all the years of planning, everything coming together, his what was once just a little seed, like, hoping for the best possible outcome, is now a full-grown freaking oak tree.
Nice.
Like,
well
he is honestly, he is literally just looking at this oak tree and being like, man, I can put a rope swing there for my kid. I can have a tree house now. When it's too hot, the shade's covering me. Man, that is one hell of a tree. I did that. I did that shit. I planted that shit. And he just must be rolling, like laughing, buzzing, like everything he's done. It is literally, he's just watched such a small, like, he came in when there was a lot of bad things going on, and he's just watched it grow into something beautiful, a lot like an oak tree. So I think he's an amazing guy. And you can see when he smiles, it is genuine, as you said it, Boom, because he knows that he is cracked onto something great, and he's doing a fantastic job at it at that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when he came in on the scene and he got the position in 2017, he had, talked about, doing things in succession, having a roadmap. He always says that roadmap, a plan. And okay, listen, we understand that 2017, 2018 were a little light, if you will, when it comes to the first party, and that was their marketing has kind of been their Achilles heels, no doubt about it. But he's constantly moving the company forward. 2018. We know what happened. 2019, obviously, the highlight of this year for Xbox and its fans is going to be Gears of War 5 or Gears 5. It's going to be a masterpiece. There's no doubt about it. But, rounding out the interview, Drew, he was talking about the newly acquired studios and that they were getting excited to be a part of something big, meaning E3. And he also stated that each individual, developing house or company is getting excited and more hyped for E3. Why? Because they want to talk about what they've been working on. And that is awesome. It's like a fever pitch, right? It starts in the center and it just kind of grows and grows and grows. And now that these 7 or really 6, obviously the initiative is new, is going to be a part of E3. Everyone wants to show off their wares, right? It's the world is watching what's going to be happening. And because Xbox is going to be in the spotlight, listen, Nintendo is going to be there, but their stuff is very, they keep it very close to the vest. It's pre-taped. It's the Treehouse event, which is always really good. I love them and I look forward to them. EA is not having a press conference. They're going to be there, but they're not having a press conference. And we know Sony's not going to be there. So this is an opportunity, especially for these new acquired, development houses to show off their wares. Can you elaborate on this particular subject, Drew?
Can I elaborate? Can I elaborate? Oh, my goodness, man. All this stuff, discussing the newly acquired studios, we're getting excited for something, to be a part of something big. Like, that just screams to me, like, it just gets me amped as all hell, Boom. Like, quick question back to you before I continue. Does that just alone not get you amped?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, man, it just makes me want to bounce off the walls. But E3 is going to be hit after hit after hit. Mark my words, Boom. We are going to see games in detail that we know about, like Gears 5, like you just mentioned, Halo Infinite, possibly a new Forza Motorsport. Who knows? I'm not a big Forza fan, but I'm sure many people will be happy to know that, that's coming if it does in fact come. No doubt we're going to see updates and DLC for, like, the likes of State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves, games that have already been out. And another huge one is third party, because, Sony won't be at E3. So, I fully expect a lot of third party developers to take advantage of Xbox's stage, because a lot of eyes are going to be on Xbox's stage. All eyes, really. So, if it makes sense, in my opinion. But last and truly not least is new IPs. It not only, I not only want but fully expect to see Xbox go full Sony. And now I don't even mean that as an insult. I mean that as a complete and utter compliment, by the way, for anyone listening. I expect Xbox to go full Sony and show most, if not all, the projects that the new developer acquisitions are working on, even if they're years out. Playgrounds RPG, dubbed as Fable, who knows? But regardless, we need to see Playgrounds RPG, whatever they're working on. You know, next, and obviously this one was coming, boom. What the hell are the initiative working on? And of course, Ninja Theory, as well as whatever else they have cooking under the developers that maybe even are yet to be announced as first party. Who knows? But it's safe to say at this point, though, that this is the most excited I've been for an E3 probably ever. I don't know what else I can possibly say, Boom. Like, I have a lot of faith in this year's E3. Not that I haven't had faith in previous ones. Like I said earlier, they constantly kill it. Every year is a great E3 from Xbox, but this one is going to be pretty spectacular because they're literally going to be, hopefully, if I'm correct, they're just going to be completely laying down the law on like what they are doing, and I just can't wait for it. I can't wait at all.
I mean, look, we all listen. You said it you said it earlier that Phil Spencer understands the responsibility that he has not only for the fans but for the company. They have to come and they to this E3 and they have to completely knock it out of the park. I don't doubt they're going to do that. I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. I think we're going to get over 2 hours of content. We don't know. It may be longer. It may be a bigger show because they're going to have a lot to talk about. We know that TV is not going to be talked about. We know that games, hardware are going to lead the charge. And I kind of want to segue into the next topic, and it is hardware. Again, why you guys tune into this particular show is because Drew and I are both honest. We don't dump on Microsoft for clicks. We have said that before. But what we have to, when something happens that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth, I have to talk about it. And I want to discuss the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, the price point of $250. Obviously it was brought to light that it comes with 3 games. Now, these are not the top tier games, if you will. And not that individually there's anything wrong with it, but when you're trying to sell a system for $250, that you could find the regular one with the drive for less than that, you got to put games in here that are going to make people go, wow, that's really something special. Forza Motorsport 3, Minecraft, and Sea of Thieves are just not those games. Those games are good on their own merit, packaged together as you're kind of putting that carrot in front of the horse to drive the cart. I don't think was a great choice. The $250 price point. We both talked about this. You and I have said it publicly. We've said it privately. We've talked on Twitter. We've talked about it in DM. This is not going to sell well, Drew. And it may have failed before it even started. Now, obviously, this is their way of introducing the world, the Xbox world, to being exclusively digital content users. This should have come out for $199, and then through sales through different businesses like Best Buy and Target and Walmart and GameStop. During sales, they should have had this drop down to at least anywhere between $150 and $179 to make it fly off the shelves. What are your takes on this, dude?
Man, my takes are I say they're simple, but I gave this one a lot of thought, and this might turn into a rant. Who knows? But I think, let me just reverse. The other evening for the live, for Inside Xbox, I was asked by no other than Saltiest Gaming to be a part of his live reaction show. And me, Salty, and Titan Drago had a spectacular ranting session about this on the Inside Xbox live reaction show over at Saltiest channel. Be sure to check it out. It was a lot of fun. And Boom, as you just said, we call it as it is. We love Xbox. We bleed green. And we're certainly not negative by any means. But we're only human. We call it as it is. And I am no negative Nelly by any means. But I call horseshit when I see it. And I'm sorry, Boom. I don't know why I'm apologizing to you, because I know you already agree. But this is an L, in my opinion. It's not that...
Well said.
It's honestly, it's not that the 1S all digital edition is a bad idea. but the timing is wrong and the price is atrocious. Like, it's just atrocious, Boom. They're essentially robbing you of the option to use discs, which, like I've discussed before, I'm not against eventually the gaming becoming all digital, all streaming. I've got nothing against progression, but right here in the now, they are essentially robbing you of the option to use your discs that you've accumulated this generation, yet it's roughly on par. And in some cases, if you're frugal and shop around, and believe me, I've done some testing of my own, it can be more, it's actually more expensive than the S that is readily available with a disc drive. Again, that's if you're shopping around and you're frugal, but still, it's just crazy. I took about 10 minutes out of my day just to take a quick glance online at a website. I don't know if you have it over there, Boom, but over here we have a website called AO.com, which is a huge online website, sells a lot of electricals, TVs, of gaming systems, you name it. I just thought for a reference, I took a quick glance, and I found the 1S all digital available to order for £199 UK sterling.
Wow.
And on the same website, the 1S normal edition, the regular 1S, was sitting at £249. So that is literally a £50 price difference. And that, in my opinion, is appalling. I think personally, this for me, right? If I was on their team, if I was on the Xbox team and I was tasked with sorting out like this digital box, when to land it, what to do with it, what price point, this is literally what I would do, Boom. I don't know if anyone in the chat will agree with this or not. Please, once I've read this last section of my notes, type in a 1 if you agree with me, and type in a 2 if you think, well, you're high as hell. But this is what I think, Boom. I think personally that they should have waited until next generation to do this. As of right now, in all honesty, I don't think many people, frankly, I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think anybody is going to be eager to buy the all digital. I'm not saying they're not going to sell any, because surely someone's going to buy it, but they should have opened up the next generation with this. For example, this is how I see the next generation panning out. If it was me and I was tasked with the responsibility of marketing and pricing this discless digital only box, I see it as this next generation: the xCloud's deck of cards size stream box for $120, the Lockhart for $399, with the optional discless Lockhart SKU for $299, which is $100 cheaper.
Yep.
And then the Anaconda for anywhere between 600 to whatever anyone's opinion of the price is, because I don't think it's going to be less than $600. That, in my opinion,
I don't know, man. That's scared. Keep going.
I know. I'm just trying to be practical. It's not a price I would hope for, but just for argument's sake, even if you want to say 550, but still, the most important thing here is next generation. I would have them do the Lockhart, which is the 1S2, which is already going to, confirmed to be more powerful than the X, and then the optional discless one for $299, $100 cheaper. So it'd be more appealing because it's already more powerful than the X, and it's for the people who want to go into a new generation without the clutter of discs. So already the timing is better, the price is better, and you're getting a more powerful box. And that's before I even talk about the Anaconda and whatever price we think it's going to be. But I said 600 for argument's sake. But that, in my opinion, would have been perfect. And that would have allowed the Xbox team to gauge over the course of a whole new generation, Boom, where the general populace stands with an all digital box versus a traditional disc tray box. So they can gauge how quick or how slow in terms of a time span they take with regards to eventually ditching discs altogether. To do it now at the end of a generation, it just seems lazy to me. It just seems stupid. The timing's terrible. Whoever's idea this was needs firing. They need literally, they should be working at McDonald's flipping burgers. They have no business. They have absolutely no business in whatever they're doing. This is a bad call, Boom. And like I said, whether you agree, with regards to how I priced the Anaconda, that was just for an example.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is this, Drew. I think what we're gonna get with
The
Anaconda.
Anaconda, but it's going to be better than the X. And I reckon the Lockhart is going to sit at around 399, maybe 450 at a push. And the I think that would be the perfect time for people who want to go into a new generation discless to be like, right, well, if you don't want a disc tray, here's the Lockhart discless SKU for $100 cheaper. Have at it, guys. And I think that would have been, I reckon that would have given them the best opportunity to sell this thing, because it's the start of a generation. It's like when you have a new car, you want to keep it clean. Some people might be like, right, it's a new generation, a new era. I want a discless SKU so I can just be all digital this generation. Boom. The discs I've accumulated the previous generation, I'll keep for backwards compatibility. I'll keep my old system or whatever, but for all my new games, I just want to have a disc. I just think it would have there'd have been a much better, it'd been much better timing, better priced and more appealing because it's a more powerful system. But hey, I don't know. I don't know if you all agree, disagree. One, if you agree. Two, if you disagree. But Boom, I need to know, what do you think about what I'm on about?
Well, I mean, look. Here's the thing. First of all, I think Lockhart is going to be important. I think the two-prong attack, like we've talked about previously on the show, is important for Microsoft. They're coming at Sony in a way I think Sony was not expecting. The Anaconda, I think, is going to be 500. I think by the time it comes out, what they're looking to put into the system, Microsoft is practically in a position where they could technically take a loss per unit and not be phased. But obviously we've heard that Lockhart's going to be slightly more powerful than the X. I think that comes out at $399, which is a great price. And I know this is not this is an Xbox show, but you kind of got to rope Sony in for a second. And I said this in a tweet earlier today. If you think that the PlayStation 5 is coming in at anything under than $500, you, I think, are sadly mistaken. I have that box coming out at $499.99, and if Microsoft is smart, and they can come out with the box at $500 to match it, a more powerful box, it's going to put them in the position that Sony was at the start of this generation. And then it's going to be like, okay, yeah, they have their first party games, which obviously really lead the charge for Sony, but Microsoft is going to have all those first party games coming out, and it's going to be like, okay, well, what do I want? Because most people, I'm not saying everyone, I'm saying a good portion of the community buys the more powerful system to play the better versions of what? Third party titles. And I don't think we're lying when we say that. I think that's an absolute fact. Yes, of course. First party sales, super important. It's a proven fact for Sony. They dominated this generation because of their, the last couple of years. They've had some really good first party games. If Microsoft puts themselves in that position, and you couple the fact that they're going to have the more powerful box, we could see a different generation come next year. That's all I'm going to say with that. Again, we can talk about this until the cows come home, but I think that we know what we're going to get. We're both excited. But you know what? I kind of want to move on to the next topic, because this is a topic that you.
Sorry, but can I just say one thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Absolutely.
No, basically, like what we were talking about earlier about E3, like I think another reason why E3 is so important is because they need, and I was saying about like, Halo Infinite, Gears, and then all these like other developers that they've acquired showing off what they've got ready for the next generation. I think that is the reason why that is also so important in conjunction with what we're talking about, is because if there is like a few months gap between the PS5 and the Xbox Anaconda, and say hypothetically, I don't agree with it, I agree with you that they should match whatever PS5 is doing for price, but say just for argument's sake there is like $100 price gap or something like that. That's why E3 is so important, because I'll be honest with you, I think if Xbox comes out at E3 with all these incredible titles that we're speculating them to have, as well as obviously Halo Infinite as a launch title already confirmed, Xbox will be on the end of everyone's tongue by the end of that E3, and everyone will just be like, man, fuck this. If the Xbox Anaconda's $1,000, I don't care. I'll pay it. I need to have those games. So that's why and then obviously if it is more powerful, then it's like, man, not only are those games, but I'm going to be swimming in the best possible, graphics and resolution and power that a console can offer. Like, all these things are coming into play, which is exactly why I said Xbox needs to map it out and leave no rock unturned. And it comes into what we're talking about now as well. Like, even if next gen they are going to do what I said, like a Lockhart discless, they might even do an Anaconda discless, but they need to just put it out there. Like, guys, this is what we're doing. These are the prices. And it's got to be so transparent. But no, I just wanted to throw out there that, like, with regards to the matching of prices and the gap between the two, I think games are going to be a huge part. Like you said, third party, that is very true. But I think as well, E3 is so important because they need to literally advertise their serving for the next generation, as if to say, like, this is what we got over here. You're going to want to get involved and play these games regardless of price and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really great point. You know what? I want to move on to the next topic, and it's something that you and I constantly talk about. It was brought up about the 6 backward compatible games that are getting X enhanced. One was new to the fray in the form of Ninja Gaiden 2, which was added to the BC list. But the 5 other titles that are getting X enhanced. Again, this is one of those situations where it's a service, it's a free service, and it's also a service that continues to give back to its players. Again, the easy statement is the gift that keeps giving, Welsh. You have 3 of the Splinter Cell titles coming that are backwards compatible. And of course, every one of those titles are amazing. We also have Fable 2 and 3 being X enhanced. First of all, we have to talk about just the fact that Microsoft does not have to do this. This is something that is given to the people for the best price of free. And you know what? Because the 360 era, you have a lot of gamers that maybe missed on the 360 era. Maybe they missed each and one of these 6 games that we talked about. Could you imagine if you're first coming in to Splinter Cell Blacklist? If you've never played that game, you're getting now a 4K enhanced version because you own an Xbox One X for free if you own the disc. Or you can just buy it digitally. And I think these games, they can't be more than $20. Or you can take the cheap route, go to GameStop and probably pick up these games for $6 or $7, which is, again, disc or digital doesn't matter. What are your takes on, more specifically? Of course, the 6 games are important, that they're backwards compatible, that they're X enhanced, but the fact that Microsoft continues to add to the list, Welsh.
Oh man, the fact that they continue to add to the list is just phenomenal. I mean, like you said, they don't need to do it. It was something that people had asked for years, and then I remember that fateful day when they were just like, "Oh yeah, just backwards compatibility is coming." Woo! Like, raise the roof! Like like you could hear the screams of everyone in E3 for miles. It was a huge thing, and like what I think is pretty amazing as well is it has made an impression. I have stood here on a few occasions now on this show and said how PlayStation's marketing and their approach to marketing has made a huge impression on this industry, and Xbox is sure as hell going to be taking notes for next gen. And I think in reverse, this is a situation where Xbox has definitely made an impression on PlayStation, because PlayStation and its community for the longest time were like, why would you want to play old games? No one wants backwards compatibility, blah, 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 blah. And the closest thing you had to backwards compatibility was that $100 box with 20 garbage games on. And it's like, okay, if that's what you say. And now it's been guaranteed, confirmed even, that the PlayStation 5 will in fact have backwards compatibility. So obviously, like, it's made an impression. They surely, despite their stubbornness, must see that, like, it's such a, I say a simple thing to do, but like, there's nothing, they can make it happen if they wanted to. It was just stubbornness that they didn't do it already. And now they've seen how well and how positive it's come across with the fan base is something people want. So PlayStation are doing it now. And the fact that Xbox have been doing it for this long, they keep adding things. And then going that extra mile with the 1X enhancements and the fact they went even further back to the OG Xbox games and they got enhancements, like, boom, Jesus H. Christ. Like, what can you say other than how gamer friendly can you get? Like, it's amazing. It truly is amazing. It's a phenomenal service. And all I can say to the people who still go, why would you want to play old games? No one's forcing you to. But
right,
the
exactly.
option is
It's a
there.
great point, Welsh.
The,
Great point.
mate, the option is there. Like, I'd rather have the option to put an old game in and have a blast than not have the option at all. And the fact that they keep bringing new titles, I say new titles, like, like more and more old titles to the list of options to play. Amazing. I think it's phenomenal. I can only say that, Boom. It is just a great service. They've done good by the community.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to break down the list because I actually forgot to do that. I talked about the games. It's a Splinter Cell Double Agent, Splinter Cell Blacklist, Splinter Cell Conviction, Ninja Gaiden 2, and of course Fable 2 and 3. So if you're interested, again, because they're old doesn't make them the games any less worth than being titles you might have missed on. If you missed on these titles, I guarantee you're going to play them and you're going to be blown away by how amazing each one of these are. And of course, now with X enhancements, according, what could you say? Now, look, here's the thing. Well, we're gonna close out this particular topic, which of course is the Inside Xbox. But before I give you my opinion, of course, I want to get your take as a overall, put it under the umbrella. What were your takeaways from this particular episode? Do you think, having the 3 hosts there, they kept it simple. They had a lot of content they showed, a couple of surprises. Phil Spencer interview completely, was shocking. I didn't expect that. What were your takes on the actual episode? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I've been completely put in my place, I should say, a few times in the past where I've gone into Inside Xbox expecting a big announcement, maybe, or maybe you hear someone's is going to be on the show. So you're like, oh, they're surely going to show something cool. Then you realize, no, it's not an E3 show. It's literally just a nice little segment that they put together for the fans. And this is just another case of that. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. I had a great time with Salty and Titan, discussing it live on Salty's channel, and it was clean. Major Nelson, pulled out the cringe gloves a few times, and he definitely was entertaining. I'll put it that way. But all in all, it was a good show. It was a good show, and I got to say as well, quickly, Boom, before I pass it back to you, because it was a good show. On the last topic where we were talking about Fable and Splinter Cell and Ninja Gaiden getting the enhancements, can I just say this though? I honestly do think that with Splinter Cell, Conviction, Blacklist, and Double Agent getting the X enhancements, Fable Anniversary backwards compat is already backwards compat with the Xbox One X enhancements, and now they've added Fable 2 and Fable 3 with the One X enhancements, and last but not least with Ninja Gaiden 2. I gotta be honest, Boom. And this is still answering your question. What did I take from this episode? This is something that I needed to say. I took this from this episode. It's probably one of the most important things, as well as the Phil Spencer interview. But those things being dropped with the X enhancements leaves me with one thing to say. I don't want to be too optimistic, but hey ho, if I'm wrong, I'll happily take the L. But I predict that E3 we'll be getting the announcements for a new Splinter Cell, a new Fable, and a new Ninja Gaiden, and that these games being dropped at the last, think about it, at the last Inside Xbox before we head into E3. It's just, for me, it's just a tease as well as a way for people to get reacquainted, if not acquainted, with these franchises before they drop the bombshells at E3. So I'm going to throw a question back to you, Boom. What do you think? Do you agree? Or do you think it could be for another reason, like they're just being nice and just
No,
giving us games?
it's funny. You know, you've said on numerous occasions that we kind of share a brain, and I had wrote in the show notes that I left it blank to surprise you what my response was going to be, and I'm glad you brought it up because here's the thing: Splinter Cell is going to be at the at E3. Now, I can't guarantee whose stage it's going to be on. You know, the leak that we talked about last week, supposedly it's going to be on the Microsoft stage, which I wouldn't doubt. Ubisoft is, of course, having their own show, but you know, Microsoft's having their show on Sunday, and it could very well drop there first. I'm predicting again for the third years running. And I don't care if I'm wrong. Splinter Cell, a new Splinter Cell, is going to be there, shown off for the first time, and it's going to look glorious. In regards to Ninja Gaiden, there has been talk since the beginning of the E3 season last year that Microsoft was in fact working on an exclusive reboot of Ninja Gaiden, and I can see actually that happening. So now I'm going to move on to Fable. Why is Fable being enhanced now? Why Fable 2 and 3 right now? Well, because to get to your point, there's going to be a Fable 3. There's going to be a new Fable title unveiled. Whether it's a title screen, whether it's a butterfly flying around a sword, I don't know what it's going to be. But it's very suspicious that these three particular titles are all, well, there's 6 titles in total, but these 3 franchises are being enhanced right before
I know, yeah.
you know what I'm saying, before E3 2019. And you know what, are there breadcrumbs here? Maybe we're following the wrong path and we're going to get lost. It's possible, but I would like to believe and agree with you that not only are we going to get one, but we're going to get all 3 on the on Microsoft's stage for E3 2019. That's a great deduction. I'm glad you said it because my God, I was literally thinking the exact same thing. But in regards to the actual event, I actually really and truly enjoyed this Inside Xbox. I thought it had just enough, extra stuff in there. You know, especially with the Phil Spencer interview. Again, that's a big bonus because you got to hear about E3. You got to hear him talk about the community and what it means. I thought that the Fan Fest information was fantastic. And why is that relevant? Because I'm going to be at E3. So on Friday morning before Breakfast with Boom, I will be registering. And I hope that I somehow am able to score a ticket because I want to be at the conference. And I want to be at Fan Fest. Again, this is my first E3 ever. So that's a big deal. And, I really enjoyed it. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. And I look forward to the next one. But before we move on to the last topic of the show, because we are really closing in on 2 hours, Punkadish, who's a big fan of the show, drops in an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, Boom, keep up the good work. Welsh, hope you're doing well, bud. Yes, well, thank you so much for being here, dude, as always. And, of course, thank you for the outstanding super chat. Now, real quick, we have a few minutes to go. I know that Randall Thor, who is going to be a guest with me tonight on the Saltiest podcast, did a story about a 4chan forums leak regarding the 3 next companies that are going to be purchased by Microsoft. Now, to be honest with you, I saw his video and he was spot on all points. I like Randall Thor. He's a really good dude, and he's a great Xbox guy. Again, obviously he's a big YouTuber, and to be on the show with him tonight is going to be great. Now he debunked it, but I kind of want to just undebunk what he said. Not exactly what he said, but why I think that there might be some truth to this. First of all, the 4chan forums, it's a forum, folks. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. They were right on the Resident Evil 2. They were right on the Resident Evil 3 remake. They've been wrong on several occasions, but Drew, what they're talking about is the 3 studios that are going to be announced at E3 2019 by Phil Spencer that are being acquired, added to the first-party fray, are Asobo Studio, Relic, and IO Interactive. Now, we've heard IO before, right? Apparently, according to this leak, there's a letter of intent that has already been sent to Microsoft by IO Interactive, or vice versa. They send a letter of intent. Relic, we've heard that they were in the rumblings of being purchased. That's not a surprise. Asobo Studios, that one's new to me. I didn't hear about that. What are your takes on these three? And do you think that if this happens, these are three quality studios that could help really push the first party envelope for Microsoft?
Right. I have a lot of respect for Randall Thor, and I'm not going to question his integrity, as he, he might know more about this than me. So if he's debunked it or believes he's debunked it, I respect that. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's wrong. But assuming for a second that there's some truth to this, and they are in fact acquiring IO, Relic, and Asobo, I think that'd be pretty amazing, really amazing. I mean, IO Interactive are best known for the Hitman games and Kane and Lynch, which is a game I used to play a shit ton back on the PS3. I used to love that game. Relic Interactive are, they specialize in RTS games, so that makes sense, in my opinion, Boom. That could potentially be something they got their eye on because of the keyboard and mouse support coming to Xbox. And they specialize in games such as the Warhammer games, Company of Heroes, and the one and only, a game that's close to my heart, Age of Empires. And then Asobo Studio, they target more, the kids, really. Like, I think that'd be an acquisition that, if that did happen, you can tell Phil had a say in it. Like, we need to think about the kids as well, because they do movie adaptation games mainly, like Pixar movies, Toy Story, Up, you name it. They've done a game about it. They done Zoo Tycoon, which again was, for like Connect and for the kids and stuff. But one other game they did that people may or may not remember, I'm sure they would, is Recore. So out of those three, the one that makes sense to me the most is probably Asobo, because they did Recore and Microsoft, behind that game, published that game. So they might grab them. Out of the three, that's the one that jumps out at me the most, as like potentially, because they have published Recore. They might have a good working relationship and just be like, guys, you can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep publishing your Pixar games and Zoo Tycoon. Do what the hell you want. But if you can make us a sequel to Recore, we can help each other out. Like, that could maybe work. And then, oh man, you took the words right out of my mouth. Z Black Rider, he literally just said HoloLens. Like, he literally just took the words right out of my mouth. But like, imagine like Zoo Tycoon or a Pixar game in that with HoloLens or maybe VR in the future. Like, Asobo seem to know their way around that kind of tech. So I think that out of the three is the most promising in terms of likelihood. But Relic Interactive, RTS, they specialize in RTS games with the keyboard and mouse support. That could be argued as a very good possibility. And IO Interactive, the reason I say I'm not sure about IO is simply because Hitman is a franchise that's been multi-platform for decades. People love those games. Maybe they can't be easily swayed, but if Xbox could make it happen, that's incredible. In answer to your
think
question,
about this for a second. They could easily, if it's not in development by the fine folks at the Coalition, like it's been rumored, they could put them onto Perfect Dark.
True.
Reboot. You know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily have to buy them to make more Hitman games. They could buy them to say, hey, listen, we have an old IP that we want you guys to go crazy with. Here you go. Here's the money. Go.
Yeah. Plus, I often revert back to Minecraft at the fact that Xbox bought, like it sounds amazing when you say it out loud. Like, that's the money they got just in their sofa cushions, but they bought Minecraft like for however many billion or whatever it was worth. And instead of being selfish bastards, get your last drinks in, guys. Instead of being selfish bastards, they still left it multi-plat, and they've made money hand over fist.
Oh yeah, crazy.
That you never know. They could literally be like, yo, IO, here's your paycheck. Put how many zeros you want on it. You can continue your Hitman games. Have a separate team doing that or what have you. And that game can stay as multi-plat, and then obviously full circle, Xbox will reap the benefits. And as a perk for it being published by Microsoft, maybe the future Hitman games can land in Game Pass day and date. But then the guys over at PlayStation and Nintendo or PC, if have to buy it. That could be a case. And then whatever projects they get them working on first party wise, like are exclusive to the Xbox platform. But already established franchises like Kane and Lynch and Hitman, any sequels to those games can be kept as multi-plat for more money all around. I'm Am I saying these three are going to be acquired? No. All I'm saying is there's an argument that can be made for any one of them as to why Xbox could have their eyes on him. And in answer to your main question, do I hope that this comes true? I got this to say. I don't specifically want these three developers. I'd be more than happy with these three developers. But what gets me excited is the fact that there's talk of 3 new studios being acquired. Like, it just gets my cogs turning. Like, what are they? Are they this 3 we're talking about? Is it 2 of these and 1 other? Is it 1 of these and 2 other? Is it just the one of the 3? Is it all 3? Is it another studio we haven't heard of? I can't wait to see the fact that Xbox are clamping down, getting more and more talent under their umbrella. And if it's and I think we'd be very lucky as gamers if it was these 3. But whoever they choose, I have faith that they're going to choose some talented people, as they have already with Playground, Undead Labs, The Initiative. What the hell is going on with The Initiative? Man, it's exciting times, man. But yeah, any one of these or all 3 would be a phenomenal pick for Xbox.
Yeah, it's very interesting. E3 is going to be great for us. It's going to be great for everyone in the chat and everyone that's just an Xbox fan. But you know what? Let's get everybody out of here. First of all, I have to announce the winner of the title that was donated. Knights of the Old Republic won. It's James176 in the chat, who's here each and every day that we do a live show. So James, I'm going to be hitting you up in the DM and send you over that code. Thanks to Tony Brennan of Twitter for the donation of that. And this has been an incredible 2 hours. We were able to get Ryan Roth from Void Bastards for almost an hour. He answered everyone's questions, including some really excellent community questions. Thank you for that. Please tell everyone where they can follow you. But more importantly, let's get your channel up to 2,000 subs. Get over there, follow the Welsh Gamer. His channel is amazing. Yes, the Dragon X is no more, but we are working on something in the background that we may announce this year. It may be next year. We don't know. But he is working on something. And he does do his regular videos, which everyone should check out because they are interesting and, of course, very informative. Well, tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, sub to you so you can get to that 2,000 subs.
No, I appreciate that, Boom. I mean, my heart and soul is in the Xbox factory at the moment. I'll be honest. While my New Year's resolution was to put a hell of a lot more focus into my own channel, I haven't nearly been as man of my word as I'd like to have been. But like I've said on time again, it's worth subbing to my channel for the reason being, when I get that Steam train rolling, it is unstoppable, and it is coming, guys. I've just had a lot of stuff on my plate at the moment. My son, who's autistic, he's just started potty training, and I know that might sound silly, as like, oh, dog ate my homework excuse, but it's a lot. It's very hardcore and on top, and like every hour on the hour, I gotta check that he needs a pee and all that stuff. Is crazy, Boom. So my schedule is booked, and when I have got an hour spare, I like to go to the gym. There's a lot of things coming. There's a lot of things hitting and getting in the way of my priorities in terms of like doing YouTube, but that doesn't mean I have quit. So like Boom said, there is projects under my sleeve that I've been in talks with Boom and the Saltiest. More to be said about that at a later date. But as for my channel, please go over, hit the sub button, because I'm a nice guy. I enjoy doing videos when I do them, and I like to have a bit of fun over there. And I think if you like my take on this show, you're going to like my videos when they do come around. So I appreciate that, Boom. Thank you very much. And what a hell of a show. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. A great show from start to finish. Obviously, this is not going to be the last big guest that we have. Obviously, we had Brad Sams last week. We had Ryan Roth this week. We are in talks with several other indie developers, which I'm going to keep private now until we get confirmations, but we are in talks with several developers to be on the show in future episodes. And of course, next week we will be back with a regular episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I want to thank Ryan Roth from Blu Manchu Games for being here. He was awesome. And like I said, stay tuned to the channel. As soon as we work out some, logistics, both the Welsh and I might be streaming this game before it's released, so you guys can tune in for that. Of course, thank you for the chat. I mean, there was little rough feathers going on today, but you know what? That happens every now and again. People have strong opinions. All I say is you keep it nice, you keep it, clean. and try to keep the cursing down to a minimum, and anything else past that, if you start with any kind of slurs in any way, whether it's gender, sexual, or race, you're going to be bounced, and you're not coming back. I'm going to give you a heads up right now. I run a tight ship. I have several moderators here that don't take any stuff, and they will bounce you, and they do have permission from me in advance to ban you. And you know what? If they ban you, then it's basically me banning you. So don't be that person, and use any kind of terms that are going to be offensive, because we don't stand for that in this particular show. This is a show to come, hang out, put your feet up on the couch, and enjoy the Xbox brand like we do. Welsh Gamer, of course, I could not do this without you. I look forward to each and every week. And again, thanks for being here. And we will see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and be safe during the Easter holiday. Take care.